Hello, loves. So I'm gonna give you guys a chance to get in here, and then I'm also going to be posting the link up for the patrons. So give me a minute before we get started. Oh, I also gotta pull up the chart as well. I hope you loves are doing okay. Please let me know in the comments how last week was for you guys, how this weekend was, because there's definitely been a lot happening for sure. So you already know we have a lot to talk about. So let me just share the link. Okay. Video. There we go. And then okay. Circle. Patrons only, and yeah. Okay, so the patrons got the link, so we're good on that. Let me go ahead and pull up the chart. Oh, lots of comments. We here happy to be a part of the Patreon gang. In a short amount of time, your vids have helped me a lot. Oh, thank you so much. Welcome to the Patreon squad. It's seriously like for me is a really important part of connecting with you guys, because I get to not only hear from you guys and what's going on with you guys, but I also get to do more work like one-on-one and stuff like that, and you guys get to do a lot of the voting for a lot of the different ways the channel direction goes. So it's definitely something that I appreciate everybody who is part of the Patreon community always. Optimism for this week. This past week was rough, feeling very unloved, but the same token, not wanting to be around close family, which is not usual. It's not my usual. LOL, just weird and irritable all around. Yeah, that we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that that energy itself, because I do feel like, especially during cancer season, a lot of people end up going through this like unlovable type of phase. We're gonna talk about that though. So I was good last week, and this weekend, today I'm feeling drained, but I have a strong Cap influence in my chart. I always feel the full moon strongly, so I'm sure this is why. I feel like when you're like an earth sign, especially like even like Capricorn specifically, you tend to have this really, you just tend to be a little bit more grounded in amidst chaos. Like no matter what's happening, we still be like 2 feet on the ground. Because if both our feet are not on the ground, then that's when things get a little bit more chaotic and we feel a little bit more out of it. So for sure, I definitely 1000% feel you on that one. We definitely have loads to talk about, because we have a lunar eclipse in Capricorn coming up on the 5th. So you already know. When you show the flowers your girlfriend got you, I thought you were gonna show a ring next. That's so funny. It's so funny because she's like laying down, she has her headphones on, but if she would have heard that, she would have been like, we're married already. So me and Babe haven't officially gotten married, but it's like she's already like my wife. Like that's just how we are together. Like we already, like, you know, had the proposing part of it, but like she'll have moments where she'll be like, oh, I want to bring in all this stuff. Like she's the one who wants me to propose to her, which I have no problem with, because I've always wanted to do it. Literally, it's been my dream to be the opposite. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be the, you know, and wait till somebody. No, I've always been like, you know, that's my goat side. That's like my, I'm gonna propose. It's gonna be perfect. I gotta plan it, all this stuff. But honestly, me and Bae are already married, so that's just what it is. I hope that makes sense. What you would call it? What says, I really like your thrift store video. Oh, thank you so much. I know you guys love the thrift store videos specifically because when I look at my analytics for YouTube, the witchy thrift store videos and the Dollar Tree videos are like you guys' favorite thing that I do, which is fun. But I remember last year I was trying to see if I can plan some sort of like day trip where like I can like rent a van or something, and then I'll have like the van pick people up like depending on like they wanted to join, and just go travel to the thrift store and you know, have a day at the thrift store because it is in Jersey, so it's, you know, it can be, you know, a minute of travel, but it's not that far away. It's like 30 minutes from New York City, depending on where in New York City you are. And my family lives in the Bronx, so it was 30 minutes from the Bronx, which is not, you know, that's not far. So I was thinking about doing that, and then Rona came, and it just can't happen right now. But yeah, I'm still definitely gonna keep doing them. Me, my mom, and my sister, we love that thrift store specifically. And for those who've been asking me which thrift store it is, I did put the name up, and it's actually, I put the front of it, it's in the video, it says the name on the outside, but I put the name up in like a couple past ones for you guys, so that way you know what it is. But it's called Red, White, and Blue, and it is in Paterson, New Jersey, and it is the best thrift store. I've been going there since I was like yay high. Literally, the ladies that work there know me for years. We were laughing about that the last time I was there, like, yo, you've been here for like, I was like, yep, because my mom's been taking me there for a long time. It's just a great thrift store. It's super big, and you always find some really dope stuff. Whatchamacallit, okay. Do you plan to return to California to find the spirit that was haunting you? Yo, you, my, like, Bae, and, so we were staying at her aunt's house, okay? And so you and her aunts, like, you and Bae and Bae's aunts, I keep texting me talking about when you gonna come over, when you gonna fly, when you gonna deal with this. I'm like, it's just really, really, really funny because the spirit that lives in the house doesn't just come to me. It goes to, you know, specifically her aunt as well, because her aunt is very, very intuitive and very gifted, but she doesn't like, she just wants me to do it and like, you know, deal with it. But it is what it is. I will eventually go back to California. Me and Bae were actually planning on going this year, but then Corona happened. We were planning on going to Peru for her birthday, and then Corona happened. So Corona has freaking taken a lot of fun stuff that I had planned for this year, but we're still trying to navigate through it and still make sure we're having fun amidst it. So yeah. But I will definitely go back eventually. Wait, there's like a ton of comments, sorry. Do the van thing once quarantine is over. Yeah, see, I feel like I did a, what was it, a poll on my Instagram, and I was like, yo, are y'all down to do like a, like, you know, a day trip to the thrift store? Because I get questions all the time by the thrift store, so I'm always just like, let's be out, I don't care. And you know, we'll all like pitch in like, I don't know, like $10 for like gas and the van to cover the cost for it, and then we could just go, and then everybody could, you know, drop everybody off and stuff. And everybody was like, yes, please do it and all this stuff. So I was kind of planning it, and then, you know, all this stuff happened. So yeah, it really, really sucks. But I will definitely keep that in mind as something that you guys want to do, because it's just a great thrift store. Honestly, I love that thrift store. And I will definitely be going back. Me and my mom, technically, we kind of usually go like once a month. That's usually our thing. So we'll probably be going next month, hopefully, if things are still open. But I will let you guys know because there will be vlogs on it. Hi, I'm nervous. Never posted a comment before, but I'm stressed out because I'm young and trying to get a summer job. I keep losing opportunities and nervous because of job interview I have tomorrow. So first of all, what sign are you? I usually ask before I address anybody, just so I know how to talk to people. It's part of my Mercury in Capricorn. I work hard for how I'm going to talk to you. But please first and foremost, let me know what sign you are so I can, like, you know, address the comment that you just said. So let me start looking at the, oh, by the way, I have purchased 2 new decks that I'm so hyped that we're going to be using in this specific weekly healing circle because I've been waiting to get them. One is the Flowers of the Dead Oracle, and the other one is the Butterfly Oracle card of Life Changes. So these 2, so these are going to be part of the tarot portion of this live, and I can't wait to see what messages we get from them. I already cleansed them, I blessed them, prayed over them, so they're good to go. They're good. We're gonna break them in today. So I hope that you guys are excited about that, because I am definitely excited about that. So I'm gonna pull up the eclipse chart because that's coming up very, very soon. Hold on. Okay, give me 1 second. Eclipse chart. That's gonna be definitely a very important day, by the way, because it's a full moon in Capricorn and it's a lunar eclipse. As much as the moon doesn't like being in Capricorn, because it really doesn't, the Capricorn is like, when it comes to emotions, it's like very, how do I explain? Like it doesn't navigate from a form of emotion. It navigates from a sense of purpose and drive. So when it comes to having the moon in Capricorn, it's like the moon is trying to make Capricorn feel things, and Capricorn's like, you know. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting eclipse, but because it's a full moon, it's going to be a little bit more of a culmination of things that have been building up, especially from the last eclipse that we had. So it's going to be a mirroring in many ways. I have a Cap moon and it's complicated. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was complicated, because listen, Bay actually has a Capricorn moon. But it works out really well because she's a Gemini. So Gemini sun, Capricorn moon, Capricorn sun, Gemini moon. So we kind of like, you know, balance each other out with that. But it's definitely very much, it's a very goal-oriented, emotional state. So we definitely have to talk about this lunar eclipse, because it's definitely gonna be something else. Let me just pull that up. Okay. So let me grab the chart real quick. And okay, so I know you guys said that you were feeling a lot of different things. There's definitely a lot of squares in the chart right now, and it definitely has created a lot of friction, a lot of, I would say, emotional, like you're either like very drained, or you're energized but then you get drained a little bit easier, or you're kind of like getting energized from the squares that are happening, like the way the planets are just like kind of like pushing things along versus you sitting and just feeling. It's not really about sitting and feeling, it's more about being productive with your feelings, which is what Cancer is supposed to be doing anyway. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that there's a lot of squares, but at the same time, it might not feel the best at all times. You might be having good weeks. Like for me, these past couple of weeks have been really good for me, but I have Jupiter in Cancer, so it navigates a little bit different through my chart. And I have Jupiter in Cancer in the 11th house, so it's really been like I've just been working, I've been with friends, or I've just been working and like talking to you guys and doing a lot of readings. for you guys. And yeah, it's just been a very spiritual time, but I've been fine. I haven't had any type of turmoil happening. However, I can see how others might be like handling the energy like different as well. Now, the moon is currently in Scorpio, and Scorpio moons, it tends to be a little bit deeper, especially because when you look at the sun being in Capricorn, the sun being in Cancer, what it does when the moon is in Scorpio and the sun is in Cancer is that you have to really look at what they represent. So sun in Cancer, that is emotional consciousness. So you're emotionally in the moment feeling right now. How do you feel? But that's Cancer energy. It's emotional consciousness. With Pluto, we all know, and I've said it many times, Pluto rules the unconscious minds. So you will find, specifically within the next 2.5 days, because you'll see how like the things start kind of like coming up from the surface. But what this combination does is that it allows for certain emotional things to be brought up to the emotional consciousness, and then you having to address them. So the way this really comes up a lot is with you getting triggered, especially emotionally triggered. Anytime you find yourself, especially in the early part of this week, if you find yourself like getting triggered, or like, ooh, like if you had to like do the little bounce, like, ooh, like you did a little jump because like something just came for you and you just had to, you know, pull back, that is that moment where the unconscious mind creeps up to your emotional consciousness and you're emotionally feeling that trigger. So it can feel a little bit like overwhelming, depending on how you're getting triggered as well. And that could depend on the topic, and you know what's actually going on in your life and what was triggered in the first place. So you definitely have to pay attention to when it comes to like being in a water season and having any water moons, because it does emphasize everything emotionally. Like when the moon goes into Pisces as well, you're gonna see that with dreams and how things are just, and messages are coming up to your emotional consciousness, and you're emotionally going to be reacting to your dreams as well. So it does like really elevate your consciousness as a whole. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is Mars being in Aries. Finally. Okay, Mars is in Aries, and this is definitely something that it's definitely better to deal with than when Mars was in Pisces, because Mars don't like being in Pisces, because he can't really move with direction with Pisces. Pisces is like very much all over the place, and so like when Mars is in Aries, it's like, okay, journey, this is a choice, this is where we're going direct, this is like, boom, let's go, let's pick a lane, let's get on that lane, let's stay on the lane. Like it's very much like goal oriented, but it's like, bam, let's go, let's execute, let's today. So right now, I feel like, especially with the rest of the chart, it's looking like Mars is kind of helping that Cancer cardinal energy that we've talked about many times, where basically it triggers not only like all of the signs, but specifically cardinal signs, because you're gonna get that jolt of energy where you're like, oh, I'm feeling super productive, and I'm just like, in like 3 hours you just clean your whole room, or like in like just a few, like if you just gave yourself 30 minutes, you got a ton done, or you're just like a little bit more focused on your goals, where you're working on, you're like, okay, I have a list, this is what I'm doing. Like Mars brings back that sense of purpose that was lacking with Mars being in Pisces. So you do have this kind of extra like burst of energy, and it's kind of like almost like eating like a hot chili pepper. That's like really what Mars in the Aries is kind of like. So it gives you like this like, oof, it's hot, let's go, let's do it. I know what I need water, I need to quench this thirst. And so we're a little bit more like amped up right now, even though there's still a lot of retrogrades, and that is totally fine. The way to deal with these kind of like transits and then also having retrogrades on top of it is to really look at the planets that are direct, and look at the ones that are in retrograde, and see where you can move forward and then how that aligns with how you're moving backwards as well. So like, for example, the Mars being in Aries right now could push you to do the work that you've been supposed to be doing and addressing that was supposed to be from the past. So like, if you hadn't cleaned your room for like a month, or because quarantine, you was just being lazy, now you have a little bit more of a boost to address the past issues that have been building up for you, and that comes with everything else. So this is past lives, this is past relationships. We all know we're still in Mercury retrograde, so we all know people still sliding in DMs. Thank goodness Venus is direct now, but there's still a post shadow phase, so you should be mindful of how quickly you're moving with that, but just be aware of how to use each energy in combination to the other ones as well, because I feel like it's more productive when you're saying, okay, well, this is what's going on. Like Uranus is still in Taurus. It's not retrograde right now, which means that he's still up here wrecking life and doing a lot of things and elevating, and really elevating Tauruses and Taurus energy, Taurus transits, Taurus placements. It's an elevation. It's like an upgrade. Like Uranus is really doing a lot to Tauruses right now. And I found that even doing the chakra healing videos the past couple months, especially those Tauruses, you guys have noticed that it's been a total spiritual like leveling up for you guys for the past couple of months. You guys just keep hitting it, and that's Uranus. And Uranus it's a planet that a lot of people love to complain about because he's so unexpected and he can bring a lot of like chaos here and there, but there's such a great aspect to Uranus when it has to do with the higher conscious minds, because he really can take your spiritual being and say, okay, you know what, this is where you're lacking. I need you to work on this. I'm going to show you your opportunities, and you need to update your behaviors surrounding this situation. So it is definitely just a trend. Like, it's everything. The energy is getting transmuted in a way that you will be your best self. You will be more aligned with your best self after all of this comes to pass, especially when it comes to Uranus and Taurus. And I feel like also because Uranus rules the crown chakra and the higher conscious mind, like that realm, all of that higher conscious mind, because he rules that, you have a lot of Tauruses, especially Sun and Tauruses. No matter how stubborn you have been in all of your life, you will notice that during especially this transit that's happening, you're a little bit more flexible to change, and you're a little bit more about glowing up and being your best self and changing and evolving. And it's just like a very beautiful just evolution of energy that's happening. So definitely pay attention to not just like, the rougher parts of the chart, but definitely look at also like what's going on, especially with the transits that are happening. Mars is just like a big one right now, especially because and especially if you're trying to be impulsive, because Aries tends to be very impulsive. Just be mindful. Like, if you know that you still have something, like let's say you're in your second house, like you have Saturn there or you have Jupiter there and they're retrograde, don't be trying to buy nothing like mad expensive right now, because it's just not a good idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be mindful of how you are in communion. Like, if right now the best thing that your chart is saying is like, okay, chart is saying for me to connect with my drive, my passion, Mars, for me to elevate my mind and upgrade my thinking, evolve my spiritual game, like just all of that, Uranus. That's what I need to be doing right now. And at the same time, you have to add healing those past issues, so then all of these retrogrades don't affect you in the way that, it could be affecting you at the same time. Now we're going to talk about the eclipse that's coming up, okay? And I'm probably going to make a separate video. I'm just going to highlight a couple of different things that I feel like are important. The first being, the sun has an opposition to the moon for this eclipse, which means that there is going to be, it's not necessarily going to be, like this is not what it's going to look like. There is kind of like an ego and like what you're emotionally feeling and how that aligns. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the sun opposing the moon, it just, you have to really connect with your intuition when it comes to this specific aspect, because you have to know when one of them is right and one of them is wrong, because one of them is getting triggered. Either you're emotionally getting triggered because the sun is opposing the moon, and the sun is your willpower, your ego, your inner child opposing your emotions, or when your emotions are triggering your ego to transform and transmute into something else. So you do have to have that awareness, because that energy is going to be like, and because it's in Capricorn, and though Capricorn is a cardinal sign, it's an earth sign. It takes a minute for it to transmute and change within the moments. It's not just going to be like, okay, I'm a new person now. It takes time. It takes investment of that time. It takes willpower to be like, you know what? I'm going to start incorporating this. This is going to be my new habit. This is going to be the new thing that I do. This is going to be part of what I am, who I am, what I'm going to be. This is what I want to be. This is how I want to evolve. You have to look at look at that and then take it almost like, not, I would say baby steps in a way, but take it like one step at a time versus trying to rush in, because Capricorn's not going to do that. Capricorn's going to have a 5-year plan on how it will get to XYZ, period. So you do have this kind of like ego triggering, emotional triggering that's happening on the eclipse, and because it's still Cancer season, there's a highlight of emotions. That's what it is. It's an emotional season. So you do have to focus and be mindful on how your emotions will be triggered by your ego during this eclipse. Because you will find that there's gonna be so much emotional energy, because it's still Sun in Cancer. Sun in Cancer is just like highlighting emotions. It's putting a flashlight on your emotions and just keeping it there for the whole entire Cancer season. So it's just like, hey, these are your emotions. I'm making them known to you, and you're walking. I'm walking with you. That's what it looks like. That's what's gonna feel like. So this eclipse is just, especially because it's a full moon, it's a lot. It's like oh my God, I feel so exposed emotionally. I feel like I need something, and you'll get to the point where Capricorn's gonna try to figure that out. That eclipse highlighting Capricorn energy. Be mindful that Capricorn's the type that wants to figure out what the issue is, so it can then address it and create that 5-year plan that we just talked about. So don't feel like, I know we're going to be feeling the build up to the eclipse, but don't feel bad if you're feeling more and if it's continuing to rise in emotion. You're like, you're like agitated. You're like, oh my God, I need, what do I need? What is it? And then boom, you're triggered, and then you have to react. So be mindful of that for this upcoming eclipse, because you will be feeling the energy this week. The next thing that's happening is that the sun will be squaring Mars. Okay. We know Mars is in Pisces. We know Mars is in Aries right now. So the sun, your emotions, are squaring your passion, which means they're fighting each other. When there's a square in astrology, when the planets are squaring, they're fighting. They're squaring off. It's like square up. Okay, square up. Like, we about to go ham, we about to go in. This is not gonna feel good. But that type of friction creates change. It creates movement, because it creates an energy of irritation that it just basically puts you in a position where you just like, ugh, like I have to react. It's like if there weren't any squares in the planets and everything was just harmony, most people wouldn't have purpose. They wouldn't have, like, they would just kind of feel like a potato, like, just, I don't know, I'm just here. Sometimes I'm happy, but like there's a sense of like, where's the passion? Where is it getting fueled into? And that's where Mars is like, I'm picking a fight with your ego, like, for this eclipse. I'm picking a fight. I'm gonna expose you, especially with Capricorn. Your values and your long-term plans are gonna come into like a focus, especially with the full moon. It's like, okay, what have you been doing? Even if it's 2020, even with everything that's going on, what have you been doing? How have you been investing in yourself? What do you need to do to set yourself up for next year? How can you be becoming a better person right now? What do you need to be doing for your spiritual studies, emotional studies, financial studies? Like, what could you be doing better right now that you have not been doing? What habits do you need to remove so that you can move forward and be successful? Like, all of the questions that I'm asked, that I'm saying, all of those are important because you will have to answer them, okay? In that triggering faction, where you will get triggered, you're like irritated, and you're like, okay, how do I address it? Address it like a Capricorn. And I'm a Capricorn, so I'm telling you exactly how to address it. Take some time to evaluate what it is that you want, especially because eclipses in Capricorn tend to bring a lot of financial and like physical realm abundance and success in whatever intention it is that you're setting. It does kind of culminate, even if it takes, maybe you set an intention that will take you like 5 years or 2 years to fully come back to that circle. The intentions you set under a Capricorn moon are very solidifying because Capricorn rules the root chakra, okay? And the root chakra is your whole foundation. You stand on your 2 feet, okay? And so you have to look down first before you walk. You have to be able to like have some sense of direction, some purpose, some goals in order for you to walk somewhere. Even if it's just like, oh my God, I'm thirsty, I just want to go get some water, and you're walking to the refrigerator to get some water. That was purpose right there. Your purpose was to go get water because you needed to quench your thirst. So you have to think about it in that way, where it may not necessarily manifest in like the next day or the next week. It's something that you want to develop over a period of time, where you want to grow over a period of time, where you're taking step by step to reaching that goal. And if you're kind of disregarding that and not kind of trying to work with the eclipse energy, it's just going to end up working against you. You're just going to feel very frustrated and kind of all over the place and directionless in many ways. The last thing that I wanted to talk about for this eclipse, because I'm just going to make a separate video of it, but the moon will be squaring Mars as well. So your emotions will be squaring your passion and your drive. So please be very mindful of those who you lash out to during this eclipse. Your words are very important. The way you're speaking is very important as well, especially during Mercury retrograde. But we do want to make sure that, you know, we're aware of how we are, especially with the triggering that we spoke about, how we are reacting, why we're reacting that way, and in a way that we're self-analyzing our emotions throughout that entire day, but also even after that, because the eclipse energy lasts like a week and a half. So you want to watch your emotions, watch how you're reacting, be very self-analytical. Self-mastery, which is a goal in basically in the spiritual community, should be self-mastery for like all of us. That should be it. But self-mastery takes a lot of practice and intention and analyzation specifically, because you do have to sit with yourself and say, why did I think about that? Why did this piss me off? That girl has a bad vibe. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna take 2 steps back from her. All of these things that you're saying, like that you're thinking, all of these things, you need to self-analyze. Why are you thinking those things? What vibe are you catching? Where are you getting that from? Like what chakras do you have open, and are they contributing to your knowledge that you're receiving from your third eye? Is your third eye even open? You have to be aware. There has to be a sense of awareness in order for you to create change and transmute the energy into something else and change what your life looks like at the end of the day. So just be mindful, because this is gonna feel like a lot of different things. So we're gonna move on into the tarot portion of the reading. The live. So I'm gonna pull some cards. Let me know. Actually, I'm gonna leave this open because I want to be able to see y'all comments. Let me know if there's a specific question that you would like me to ask for the collective. It has to be for the collective because this is not a personal reading. But let me know if there's a specific question that you want me to ask for, especially for this week, especially building for the eclipse. So that way we can see what comes up. Ooh. Straight off the bat. I mean, I sure do feel like an empress surrounded by all these beautiful flowers that they got me. But let's see what is going on with, I'm in Aries with 3 houses in Pisces and with 2 Capricorn kids. Lord. Lord, you must have to like search for patience, cause Jesus. I mean, having Capricorn kids is not that bad because they don't give you like a hard time, but like Aries tend to be very impatient. That's like the only thing about Aries that's like an opportunity. How can we work with the energies that feel dangerous in the community? Ooh, that's such a great question. How can we work with the energy? Wheel of Fortune. Okay. How can we work with the energies that feel dangerous in the community? Six of Cups. Okay. How can we work with the energies that feel dangerous in the community? King of Cups. Page of Pentacles. One more card. Okay, what is energies that feel dangerous? Okay. They said one more card, but what they really meant was 3 cards. So we got Page of Pentacles, then we have 4 of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, and then the Knights of Pentacles. Y'all want to guess why there's so many Pentacles coming up for that question? I wonder if any of you guys can guess what I'm going to say next, because I say it all the time. Bottom of the deck. Death, Ace of Wands, and the Knight of Swords, which I'm not really surprised to see here either. So, also underneath that is the Moon and the Tower. I'm not surprised to see that either. So, when it comes to dealing with negative type of energies within the community, what you have to really focus on a lot of the time, especially when it comes to protecting yourself and being within your own kind of like bubble, because a lot of the time when you're in the spiritual community, you will find that all of us are very much in our own bubbles, but we come into contact in rooms where we are with other people. So when it comes to the community specifically, because I know a lot of us have that intuitive, you know, that will be like, oh, that doesn't feel like, oh, that doesn't sound right, like, oh, that person's giving me bad vibes, oh, that person, like, I will say this, especially because I do know quite a few people that are very like big in the spiritual community. There's definitely a lot that I've heard, and this sounds super gossipy, but there's definitely a lot that I've heard, especially about other practitioners who are really big in the community, about why other big practitioners don't even get along with those practitioners. And I remember I have one friend that she's really big in the community, and there was this other friend that I had, and she was in the room, and she'll be like, oh, why don't, like, oh, this person, she's such a great reader, like, she's such a great, like, I love her, you know, Instagram, like, she's always posting, like, I vibe with her. And then my friend would go, no. Like, she'll just be like, no, because she doesn't vibe with that person on a spiritual level. It's not even on a petty or on a, you know, any type of thing like that. It's on a spiritual level where she's just like, that person ain't it. That person is not, I can't vibe with that person. I can't hold space with that person. I do not trust this person. This person is just financially like looking at the spiritual community to get money. Like there's just like lists of stuff that she would just end up saying. And what I will tell you at the end of the day, because I do feel like, and I've always said this even in those conversations, I've always said like there's some people that will need to come into those type of spaces and discover like different healers and stuff like that, no matter what, you know, their intentions are with what they do, that people need to hear it from them. Maybe the message that they are saying and telling people, that person really needed to hear. And that's the important part, because at the end of the day, you can look and crucify the messenger in like the Gemini way. You can crucify the messenger, but the message is what's important, and you cannot disregard the message no matter where it came from, because that's the important part. So when it comes to dealing with like negative energies, especially if you're not vibing with someone in the community or a group of people, or maybe you're just not, you just don't understand why some people like someone because you can see kind of through it a little bit in a different way. I will tell you that you have to understand that some people will need the message. Just like I've always said that there's some people that need religion because they need to believe in something, someone specifically, or someone's specifically, and have that connection in the level that they need. They just need that connection. They need to have that experience. Not that I agree with all forms of religions and all of the religions in the world, for different teachings and stuff like that, but some people do need that to have that experience. So there is a level of like detachment and respect that I have, and there's also moments where I do have to kind of step back and be like, I can't fucks with this person. So I definitely understand that. On a personal level though, it comes down to your personal practice, and this is why I brought up the bubble in the first place, because your spiritual practice, you're within your own bubble. Yes, we have a community, yes, we do things together to an extent, but we still have to like leave from here at a point and then go off into the world and do our thing. We're just like checking in every week basically, but you do have to kind of live your own life, and so your spiritual practice becomes your own bubble. And why is it important for us to kind of focus on that bubble energy? Because at the end of the day, when you're thinking about, oh, the spiritual community and any negative energies, negative vibes that are coming through it, you have to go back to yourself, your family, your ancestors, and where you're at with your spirituality. You have to be in your own bubble. You have to master your spiritual craft. At the end of the day, when you come into the room and you're like you're just elevated, you know that you've been doing the work, you know that you are at another level, you're just like, you know, your chakras are open, you're doing the thing, okay, you're doing the thing, and you're in this level. When you walk into those rooms where you see and feel those type of vibes, you will find that it won't really affect you. You'll just recognize it for what it is. But there also has to be a respect for the message that is given, because no matter how toxic someone is, they can still come around and teach you a lesson, and they can still teach you something that you might have not comprehended had you not met XYZ. So there has to be an element of toxicity to the community, and there has to be not everything can be pure. Okay, not everything can be pure. Even those who try to purify something tend to be too controlling, because they don't understand that some people need to experience both sides. It's kind of like the people who are very like love and light, but don't look at the shadow work that needs to be done. You have to look at both sides, and the shadow work and all aspects of your shadow, which also happens within the spiritual community itself, you can't ignore it, but you do have to respect it for what it does. This counts for like people getting exposed, people like, you know, getting called out, all of these type of things. I love it when that happens. I love it when people get called out, or people like, I don't like cancel culture because it makes no sense. It's not, especially in the spiritual community, cancel culture doesn't work, okay? Because you have to grow and evolve. That's the whole point of being spiritual in the first place. So, and self-mastery. You can't master yourself if you're still like mad that somebody said something from XYZ at the time. Like, you have to just see the evolution, and also you have to a certain extent, you also have to mind your business about other people's stuff. There are aspects of it that teaches a community a lesson. When somebody, especially those big people, celebrities, whoever, when they get exposed, it affects and impacts the community itself. And that's why cancel culture even became a thing in the first place, because people were trying to punish the actions. And so when you look at even the spiritual community, you have to understand that there has to be an area that has to be not necessarily the lightest, because it cannot just be fully pure. That doesn't exist. There's some people that are going to come into the spiritual community with bad intentions right off the bat. There's people that just want to make money from the community. There's people that are really like, say there's something they're not. There's people that have really malicious intent, and other type of, you know, things that they want to gain more from the community. And it's up to you and your intuition to sort those people out and see what vibes with you and what doesn't. But at the same time, you do have to let others evolve at the same time. So if somebody that you feel like, you know, I can't, you know, this is not a good vibe, I can't F's with this person, you don't give them love from a distance, like send them love and peace from a distance, and let them grow on their own. Because at the same time, not only do you need to evolve, but they do too. So there has to be some growth that happens. And in order to understand that, you have to be on a level of detachment. And almost like, it's because I have my Venus in Aquarius, I'm really able to just like detach and be like, let me just pull it back and see what's actually going on. But at the end of the day, the way you stay protected, you yourself, not just all of us together, it's really about not only connecting with your ancestors for that, but staying grounded, staying focused, making sure you're setting the intentions that how you want to impact the community as well, and how you want to come together, and asking for those people, your tribe, your group, to come around that you can trust, calling in those spiritual guides as well. And spiritual guides are not always going to be spiritual, and when I say that, I mean like they'll be in a spiritual form. There's some spirit, that's why they're called spiritual leaders. They're spirit guides as well, and so you have to call those people in as well, and be like, okay, I see that there's people in my community that have this kind of energy. Spirit, can you please guide me towards maybe a few people that I can trust, that I can you know, share and exchange and have and hold space with, and be like, you know, myself, talk about my thoughts, setting those intentions to call that energy in. It's way more productive than looking around and saying, I don't like that vibe, I don't, you know. At the end of the day, you have to find a solution to the problem itself, and the solution is not to purify anything. The solution is to work on yourself. There's an elevation that happens here, okay? There's an intention that is set, and there's an elevation. It's like you have to take it upon yourself to work and master your spiritual craft. And so not only do you have to give it time for that to take place, but you also have to let the universe bring those people to you at the same time. And you have to let your ancestors also be able to guide those people in your life, because they're not going to steer you in a wrong direction unless there's like a lesson that you need to learn, and you're like, why did I meet this person? Why was that important? You always have to look at the lesson. Anytime that you're questioning why somebody came into your life and it wasn't a good experience, you have to look at the lesson, what they taught you, what, you know, what you're taking from that relationship. But at the end of the day, it comes back to being authentic and genuine in the moment, and saying, okay, this is vibing with me, this is not vibing with me. Remove yourself from spaces where you feel like you're not aligned with, but also respect the fact that other people might need to be in those spaces. There's some people that grew up in very toxic environments, and they need spirituality that's a little bit more toxic, that's a little bit more dark, in order to come out into the light as well. So everybody's experience has to be a little bit different. It's not going to look the same. I hope that answered your question. I knew that this one was going to be a little bit more complicated, but I hope that answered the question. There's another question in here that I saw. Hold on. What kind of workings would be best to do this week? Well, first of all, I hope that y'all been taking my advice and taking a spiritual bath every week in Cancer season. Like I said, okay? I said it, and y'all need to be doing it. Especially when, like, just while we're building to this eclipse, you want to take a spiritual bath. I would say the work that you should be doing this week should be a little bit more grounding. See where we're getting so many pentacles in here? So much earth energy. So much earth energy. This is literally the first card that came out. This is the first card that came out when I was shuffling. You have to focus on your self-care, your self-worth, how you're feeling about yourself, what you want to give birth to, what it is that how you want to elevate into the next thing. What are you trying to call in? All of these things, this is all Capricorn energy, okay? It takes time to do it, but this is all Capricorn energy. So we have to make sure that we are in alignment to what we're trying to attract as well. So the work you should be doing should be very grounding energy. I would tell you to do root chakra meditations. Definitely carry around crystals that are for the root chakra. My favorite is garnet. It just is, especially because it is, well, it's the January one, but garnet is really good because one of my tips and tricks for garnet specifically, because it's a very sexual stone. I charge it sexually, and then I use my sacral chakra to implement it on my root chakra. If you guys need a video on me explaining how to do that, I can do that for you. But that's one of the crystals that I use to not only ground my root chakra, but then use my sacral chakra to manifest in my root chakra at the same time. But definitely work with crystals that are grounding. And also I would say work on the solar plexus this week, because the solar plexus and your willpower and Mars is going to be a little bit more charged up. So you want to be mindful of what direction you're going to, how you're moving and stuff like that, because it might not necessarily, you know, be the easiest kind of energy to go with and flow with if your solar plexus is kind of all over the place and you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I'm gonna whip out the Flowers from the Dead oracle deck, and this deck is so cool because it's like different skulls from different animals, which is really nice. And it doesn't come with like a guidebook or anything. It just has the words that basically coincide with what the meeting is. So we're gonna shuffle for a message for this week. What should we be focusing on this week? What does Spirit want us to know for this week? How can we elevate our practice and bring strength and transmute the energy? Okay, we have 2 cards. So we have 1, Flamingo, okay? And this is romance and love, which I'm also not surprised about. And then we have Hummingbird, unique and distinctive. And now that I bring this up, because this is something that came up in the beginning of the reading, where I know somebody mentioned that, look, bottom of the deck, clairvoyance and understanding. I know somebody mentioned that they've been kind of a little bit detached and pulling back and just kind of like wanting to be alone. I'm not really surprised that this is coming up within the energy, and especially I feel like a lot of people are kind of pulling back because they're feeling a lot of different things, or because they just really want to spend more emotional time with themselves. Right now is a really, really good time to do a lot of self-love work specifically, because I always say this, if you don't love yourself, loving someone else and, you know, having that in your life and having that energy of, hey, this is my truth, I love myself, and then somebody else loves me in this way that I am so comfortable in because I love myself. So I know exactly what kind of love, how I want it to be. So there is just like this self-love energy where you have to look at all your quirks, how you are like unique, different, how your journey has been different, and finding the empowering aspects of that as well. Because obviously we all go through different things, but at the same time, you can't sit there and try to go on a spiritual journey and not have to pass the self-love test. Because if you do not love yourself, that becomes a crippling factor for everything else you're trying to do. Whatever you're trying to manifest, well, you don't love yourself, so why would you even need it in your life? Like, you don't even love yourself, so how are you even going to truly enjoy what you're manifesting? Like, it just creates a lot of distortion where there shouldn't be. And so you have to have a stronger foundation. And this is what also part of root chakra work, by the way. Self-love is part of root chakra work. And you want to know why? Because it highlights this unique and distinctive energy about you, where you're like, this is who I am. I know exactly who I am. I know where I've been, and I know where I'm going. I got my goals. I know what I'm grounded in. I've healed this and that. I've worked with my ancestors. I've been healing generational work. I understand and know their energy. I understand why I'm different, why I'm seen as a black sheep. I understand all these elements of myself, and I love that about myself. You being able to say that is very, very powerful, because then you can come back and say, oh, so now that I've done this, I can move on to the next thing. So love is a very, very, very important thing. And I'm actually really glad that some of you guys want to know how to do the video that I just said, because that's part of my self-love work. That's one of the rituals that I do for self-love work. And it's not super complicated. It's just moments where I am integrating new intentions, including those of self-love, into myself, back into myself. And so you have to take the time to say, okay, how am I going to like bring this love back? Especially in Cancer season. Cancer gives. They give everything of themselves. They give all of their emotions, all their time. They nurture everybody and their mother. And then sometimes they just like, oh, I just want to sleep for an extra hour. And you'll catch them complaining about certain things that they need because they're trying to come back to themselves, because they give. And Cancer season highlights that. So what the cards are saying is like, hey, you have to also focus on your self-care, on your self-love. You have to be someone you love and that you give to as well. Okay? Because that helps you move forward. And this is why you notice how we're getting a lot of this Empress energy. This is the card that came up earlier. There's a lot of like, I need to sit with myself. I need to be around my plants. I need to, I need to drink some tea. I need to just take a nap. I need to go on a walk by my damn self. And then I'll come back and I will do the rest of the things that I said I was gonna do. But you do have to bring it back, because you will drown yourself and your emotions will like, they're just like churning if you just give all the time. And the same goes for Virgos, by the way, because Virgos and Cancers, like I always say this, they're like the mother sign of the zodiac to me. Specifically Cancer, but Virgo's the second one, and a lot of people don't put that together. Virgos give every day. They're giving. They hermit, yes, but they give, and they're supposed to be serving other people, so they give and it can be exhausting, and that's why they hermit. That's why they're the card of the hermit, because they have to pull back and be like, okay, I need my personal space now. I gave you what you needed, but I gotta pull it back. Cancer sometimes has a very, it struggles to deal with that, so it can be very frustrating. So I can see why that's coming up for this week, self-love. So make sure you're putting in the time for yourself, because if you're not, you're just gonna find yourself being very drained and irritable. And we don't want to be irritable. I don't know about y'all, but I hate being irritated, because it just feels gross. It feels like it's almost like having sand everywhere and you just can't take a shower. That's what it feels like when I'm irritated. So what else do we need to know for this week? What can we expect? I'm going to be using the butterfly oracle cards. Wait, hold on. That was too many cards. What can we expect from this week? Literally like half a deck came out. We're not doing all that. That's a lot. What can we expect for this week? What energy can we expect for this week? Ooh. Hold on, because I gotta pick that up. So, ooh, God, hold on. Ooh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna fix that. Hold on. Babe, can you pass me that? Thank you. Wait, I'm sorry. Let me fix that. Okay. Thanks, my love. Ooh, okay. Ooh. Okay. So the first thing that came out, which I was like, is grief work. What were we just talking about though? What gives you grief? What gives you a hard time? What is it that makes it so you're just like regretting the time you put into things, regretting why you invested on something? This is like very much retrograde energy, and this is like a very contemplative energy. The other cards that came out are sobriety, new career, seeking, and finding. So if you are one of those people that either lost their job because, the Rona, you're definitely going to be seeking and finding this week. I feel like there's definitely going to be a lot of people who are going to be looking at their options in regards to their finances. And actually, the Capricorn eclipse is great for manifesting work. So please use energies accordingly. And for specifically for work, it works a little bit faster, so make sure you're using that energy. But when it comes to grief work and sobriety, this is really looking at different traumas, okay? And the reason why this is important is because we've been talking about self-love, self-care, the healing that needs to be done, the things that need to be, you know, the steps that you need to take in this self-mastery elevated journey that we're taking, right? So you're doing a lot of grief work. You're doing a lot of like self-analyzation of those sad parts of your life. And you're saying, okay, this is what I need to address. This is why I need to address it. I need something different. This is just not vibing with who I need to, where, you know, the levels that I'm going, what I want to do. So I have to address this. And this is all the retrogrades triggering y'all's this week, because that's still going to happen. Sobriety talks about being in a different mental space and emotional space to deal with the grief work that you're doing. And this goes hand in hand if you've been addicted to something in the past specifically that basically had you trapped or had you feeling like you couldn't leave, or you just felt so intense at the time that you just couldn't, like, you were just, it's a little bit of an addiction. That's why the sobriety card is there. And now you're like, I have to do this work. I have to look back. I need to reflect. I need to sort out not only my mind but my emotions so I can move forward a little bit more clear, with the clarity, while at the same time dealing with everything that's happening in the physical realm. And I feel like some of you guys are going to find some really good opportunities, especially when it comes to jobs. I feel like some of you guys are going to find some new opportunities, but with new career, be a little bit flexible is what I would say. Because if you are like blocking yourself off and saying, I'm only going to apply for this, I think you should try being a little bit more flexible, because you might be surprised. You might be surprised where you might end up. And I will also say, okay, that at the same time, you also have to set an intention for the right thing to come in. So I would definitely, this week, especially since you guys are going to be looking at your finances, say, hey, like, pray every single day this week and say, hey, Spirit, can you help me find the job that I need to have for the next, 6 months or whatever. Can you help me find the next, job that's going to be an alignment to my spirit, or that I'm going to be able to elevate and grow with, and move forward with in a positive way that I really need, that's going to pay me well. However it is that the work your magic card literally just jumped out. So really ask Spirit to assist you in this journey of like searching for something. So you're not like, I'm just applying and, not intentfully applying. Intentfully apply, okay? The other card that came out was clear and shield your energy. So protection work is definitely important this week. And I feel like that's, especially from the first question that we were talking about with the energies in the spiritual community, I'm not surprised this came in. Like I said, please take a spiritual bath every day of like the first part of the week, on the Monday, on the Sunday, whatever is your first part of the week, please take a spiritual bath once a week. That is your homework. Please take a spiritual bath once a week, because you do need, in order to be out here manifesting and working your magic, you do need to be cleansed and clear. There has to be that, like, I'm ready to take this, I'm ready to take this on. So let's look at the planetary energies that are going to be affecting us for this week, moving on to the eclipse. What planetary energies? Are you tired of Saturn just coming out every week? Because listen, I mean, the eclipse is in Capricorn. What did you expect? What planetary energies are affecting us this week? The sun. We're going to pull one more for the planetary energies. planetary energies affecting us collectively this week. Jupiter. These cards are trolls, okay? Because look, bottom of the deck is Scorpio, by the way. But these cards are trolls because literally Jupiter is in Capricorn, and it's like Saturn is just like me. I'm gonna be the energy affecting y'all this week. So the good thing about this though is that, well, first and foremost, please look at your transits for all of these. You want to make sure that you know what is happening, especially astrologically. You want to make sure you know which house it's landing in, especially the eclipse. You want to know where, like, what you need to be aware of, where this energy is going to be, like, you know, shining the light in. So just be very mindful and look that up so you already have that. Write down some notes. But I'm not really surprised about this because Saturn is still making a lot of changes, and with Jupiter being there, you're going to see a lot of different it's almost like Jupiter and Capricorn has been doing a lot with the government, and I do feel like when it comes to government and the issues that have arisen, you're going to see a crescendo this weekend coming up because the energy is building, and it's just a highlight emotionally with Capricorn energy. So I do feel like there might be a lot of political activity for this eclipse, but we're going to talk about that in the eclipse video when I make it this week. But definitely look at your root chakra. Look at where you're grounded in. Reevaluate. This is a really good week to reevaluate where you are and then set the intention for where you want to go, because that's what Saturn wants. Every time Saturn comes around, he's just doing an inspection. He's like, okay, well, this isn't working. This, you need a new fire hydrant. Like, you need you need like a new extinguisher. You need to change this. This is broken. This, and then he expects you to change it. If you don't change it, you will be reprimanded by Saturn. So you just want to make sure that you are staying on top of the things that you need to work on. With the sun being here, like I told you, even though it's Cancer season, you see how no water energies came up as a focus. Even though the sun is in Cancer, it's focusing in a way that it's like, you got to remember the sun is fire. The sun is fire. So when the sun comes out as an energy into Cancer, it's highlighting your emotions. It's kind of like the sun being in the ocean, like just lighting up the ocean. You can see all the beautiful things. You can even see through it a little bit and see what's going on underneath. But it gets very hot, and it warms up the ocean, especially in the summertime. So the water can, starts to kind of, there's heat in your emotional state. So be mindful how that's coming up, because you're going to have to address your emotions. With Jupiter, okay, definitely have a strategic approach with how you're moving forward, because Jupiter is very educational. So you want to be tactical, because Jupiter's in Capricorn right now. So you want to be tactical. You're like, when you're being tactical and when you're saying, you know what, Jupiter, this is what I want to do. I am going to focus on this for the rest of the year. This is where I'm going to put my money towards. I'm putting my savings on here. I'm doing X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. And that's how I'm moving forward with this. Then it's like, okay, Jupiter comes around. He's like, let's make that a little bit faster. How about if you get this in a month instead of like having to wait 6 months for it? So it tends to like amplify the energy, but when you approach it from an educated and grounded state, you then are able to work with the energy a little bit better. So I hope that makes sense. Government issues intensifying. Yeah, we can't avoid the government issues, but it's definitely going to be a crescendo this weekend. I definitely feel it. There's going to be a crescendo. And I think some people, especially those that are in like the wrong side of history, they're going to start feeling how badly they're losing. Okay? Mars and Aries, government going wild. Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. I feel like some people are going to get roasted, straight up roasted. I got an interview last Friday, and I will have a new one tomorrow, fingers crossed. Sending you some positive vibes. I hope you get it. I hope it's in alignment with your spirits. Okay, sending you some love and some positive vibes. Having a Virgo sun and Pisces moon, I hermit so much. This on top of being an empath makes spiritual cleansing almost a daily. I mean, listen, we all need what we need, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But it's definitely facts. It's not a bad thing, though. You just can't hermit all the time. That's the only thing. You just can't hermit all the time. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off because we've been talking for a long time. I hope that you guys enjoyed this week's Weekly Healing Circle. I hope you got the messages that you needed as well for this week. I will definitely be seeing you guys next week. And I also will see you in my next video because I don't know if you noticed, Mars went in Aries and I just uploaded like 4 videos. Just dropped 4 videos at once for you guys because I was trying to like edit and just get it to you guys as well. So I hope that you enjoyed the videos, but there will be more videos coming because I still have to shoot the Patreon voted video for the week, and they're going to be voting for the next one as well. So there's more. Stay tuned, and I will try to do the ritual for what I was talking about with the garnet stone, specifically the crystal, soon. I'll try to do it this week. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated with that one. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. I hope that you had a great time here. Have a very blessed night. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Check out the Patreon because we're always growing over there.